So, welcome back to another episode of Living the Sky Life. I'm thrilled to have my friend Kate Swenson of Finding Cooper's Voice on for the third time.
Oh,
Each time
exciting.
it's different. I
A
think the
hat
last
trick.
time was when your book was coming out. And so we've always got something new to talk about. But I wanted to talk to you a lot about the book. You were so open and candid about your relationship with your husband during the whole diagnosis years, and I openly talk about my divorce and my book, and I feel like it's a topic that we get a lot of questions about because we're honest about it. There's
Mhm.
a lot of people that have relationship questions, communication questions with their partner, and no one really wants to talk about it, and I'm just glad that you did, and that you put it out there. So that's what I kind of want to dive into with this series about marriage and relationships, is how you navigate through some really tough times when you have a child that has disabilities. And it's a family, as you say all the time too, it's a family disorder. Autism doesn't just affect our child
Mhm.
or children, it affects everyone in the household. So I guess let's just start by, for those few people out there who haven't read your book
Yeah.
and don't realize that you and Jamie, you just celebrated an anniversary. You guys have been married, what, 15
We
years?
say 15 years, yep, and
You
then
should count all of it.
someone will, like, typically make a joke and say, like, "Once removed," you know?
Oh gosh, I've never heard that. But but yeah,
No.
you guys have been married and together quite a long time. And it was a rocky road during the years of trying to get a diagnosis for Cooper, right? So
Mhm.
kind of can you explain for people kind of a snippet of the book and how you and Jamie just were not connecting?
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story first. So when you write a book, it goes through this, you write it, you submit it, it goes through this editorial process. It's kind of a long back and forth. And then at the very end, there's, and I'm sure you know this, there's legal. Like
Mhm.
legal steps in and like people have to sign that it's okay to write that. And if they don't want it, you change names, you change locate, you just kind of change things. And the first thing legal flagged was they're like, Jamie needs to like give his blessing for this, whatever the legal ease is. And I said, I had a form and I'm like, do you want to read the book first? I've been begging him. He's like, oh, I trust you. So he signed it. And then it took him like 6 months to listen to it on audio. And when he finally listened to it, he's like, wow, you really went for it there. Really shared it up. And I was like, yeah. So yeah, Jamie and I were married 15 years ago in September. And one of the things that I wanted to do was have babies right away. And looking back, I wish we would have enjoyed each other. We got
Mhm.
pregnant right away. And now, hypothetically, if we would have had a baby that allowed us to live our married life typically,
Mhm.
maybe it wouldn't have mattered as much, but we didn't have that. It wasn't part of our story. So our life, the second Cooper was born, changed drastically. And for context, all of my friends had babies at the same time, and
Mhm.
most of Jamie's friends were having babies at the same time. So we had lots of little kids. And we watched them go back to their pre-baby, I'm air quoting, pre-baby lives where they were camping or boating or traveling or doing whatever they were doing. And our life stopped.
Mhm.
We had a very challenging Cooper. He refused to travel. He didn't sleep in hotels. He screamed in the car. He couldn't do any of the things, very technology focused from a very young age. And the way I describe it in the book is like it was like our world was shutting down. It was getting smaller,
Mhm.
doors were closing, the invites stopped coming, the do we split up and one of us goes, one of us stays home started happening. And it put this invisible stress on us in the years that we should have really been enjoying and having fun. We weren't. It was and I knew right away that something was different with Cooper. If you hear me
Mhm.
present, I say I know from the second he was born. I
Mhm.
didn't know what autism was. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't have a crystal ball, but going on to have more kids, something was different from Cooper the second he was born. And I started saying that right away. And Jamie almost, it seemed like he thought I was like a traitor, or why was I saying these things about our baby? And I'm like, something is wrong.
Mhm.
And I really fought for the diagnosis alone. Now, to give Jamie credit, he came to every appointment,
Right.
but he sort of bucked the process.
Hmm.
It was not seamless. I had to cut back hours at work because daycare couldn't accommodate him, which is very common with these kiddos. Um, and you know, and Jamie just kept living life, and I dove into autism so head first. I mean, I lost myself. I was a martyr. I could pause there for questions, but it everything changed really quickly. And I don't know if we had the framework and the groundwork laid to go into it equally.
Well, I mean, I can speak for myself, and maybe you felt this way too, but I wasn't someone who wanted to be home on maternity leave for like,
No, me either.
8 months, and people are like, I'll take a year if you'd let me. I was quit. I was 6 weeks and I want to go back to work. So I was even that during that 6 weeks when Skylar was having, significant issues with his hypotonia and other things, pre-autism. I'm like, this is awful. Like I resented my ex-husband so much because he left every day and went to work and engaged with adults. And it's, I guess, foreshadowing because I didn't realize that that would kind of be my life for the rest of my life, in a
Yeah.
sense that I'm feeling left out of things that people my age are doing and people with kids, our kids' age, are doing. And it's hard not to resent your partner, even though it's not their fault. Somebody has to go to work and pay the bills and stuff, but it's not
Oh,
fair. I didn't sign up for that.
oh, I mean, I can 100% me. So I always say I'm not meant to be a stay-at-home mom, and
Right.
I'm saying that in a shining light on the women that do that, or the parents that do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I get antsy and anxious. Like I love working. So, and also in the beginning of our marriage, Jamie was the breadwinner. And so he had a really good job at a bank, and he had to have his butt in the chair, right? 7 to
Yep.
5 or whatever the hours were. And I went back to work, but I had to immediately cut down to 32 hours. And then I think I went one more down too, which was a financial strain, huge financial strain. But I started bringing Cooper to speech, into OT, into the play groups. And I would call my husband crying after every single one, no lie. And I remember he always answered the phone. And I know he probably couldn't or shouldn't have or was busy, but he always answered the phone. And I remember the sentence, there's something wrong. Like there's something wrong, something's not right when you see how different your child is. And so there we had the animosity. I call it animosity. Like I was like, this is not fair that and then I almost felt like, did you ever feel like he didn't believe me because he wasn't seeing it? Like I was like, I remember like we'd go to speech and like it would be hell to get from the parking lot the car to the parking lot. He wouldn't take the elevator. We'd have to take the stairs. I'd be sweating. He'd be running around the room. He wouldn't participate. We'd leave. And I'm like, it was so bad. I remember like, he'd be like, is it that bad? And I'm like,
Did he only see it in snippets though? Like
yes.
if he
Yep.
had done that every day, I mean, one of
Yes.
your examples, similar, I remember taking Skylar to Gymboree and I left there in tears because he just
Yes.
rolled around on the floor and
Yes.
couldn't participate in anything. And people were staring at us and other moms were kind of smiling, giving me that like passive smile, like,
Same exactly.
oh,
Still happens today.
I know. And I'm just like, I'm sick and tired of people looking at me and looking at my kid and counting us out. And it was the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm sure you're exaggerating. It's not,
Yes.
you're, and did Jamie or anybody ever question you with postpartum? Because I know postpartum is more depressing on yourself and things, but maybe you were looking for things, for drama effect. Did people ever think that you were,
So this is
making
really
something
funny.
out of nothing?
So I have a slide in the presentation that I give when I go to school districts and all the different
Uh-huh.
places to present. And it says the things that I was told right away. He's a late bloomer, boys are lazy,
Yeah.
you're a first time mom. They're all pretty common. But I was told by numerous people that I probably just had postpartum. And the thing
Jeez.
is, that wasn't my story. Now
Yeah.
that's many people's stories and is very valid and needs to be taken very seriously. But I actually was like, well, maybe I do, and that's why this is so hard. But
Hmm.
I didn't. Yes,
Right.
I was told the same thing.
Man, that is so interesting. So if you're coming home and you're stressed out from these adventures with Cooper, and I guess you don't feel like you have a listening ear in Jamie at that time. I mean, it's so hard that maybe he doesn't want to keep pushing for diagnosis and you do. I mean, I know in your book you go through hearing and all of the things that Cooper went through until you finally got the autism diagnosis. Did Jamie even understand or agree with the autism diagnosis when it came, or was he still like, this is not what this is? We can
So I'll
fix
tell
him
you
quick.
something really unique about my husband, I think is unique, and we laugh about this now because it still happens. Jamie is very black and white. There's no gray area for him. There's
A
none. And
banker.
I live entirely in the gray. Like I'm
Hmm.
like, whoa, and he I have no problem challenging things. I mean, I'm not what's the word? I'm non-confrontational, but like I mean I can challenge things. And so the second we were told it was autism, it was autism. So I had that in my corner. What I didn't have was an emotional partner. And this is something that we're still dealing with today. We're still working very hard as a couple. And we can talk about this in a little bit, but the challenges of raising a child with autism or any disability don't go away, and we continue things to continue to arise. And so often I just need someone to be sad with me. I
Hmm.
need someone to grieve with me. I need someone to listen. And he's black and white. He's a fixer. So he's never ever been able to give me what I need emotionally. And that's something that it's a challenge in our marriage.
Hmm. Is that
Because
with
there's
true
times
of
I'm
all the
just sad.
kids or just Cooper?
Um,
If
we
there's
haven't had
something
anything
that's
else
you
arise yet
haven't,
with the other
okay,
kids. Mm-mm,
yeah. I just wondered
no.
if it's, yeah, if it's more of that. Well, I mean, you're very clear in the book, and I appreciate you saying it this way, because I think most people assume that if a marriage fails, because I mean most marriages, the percentage is really high when you have a special needs child
Yep.
of the divorce rate. But that you say specifically, I will not say that having a child with special needs caused our divorce, because it didn't. Autism wasn't the problem, and it didn't ruin our marriage. And I love that you point that out, because I would never want Skylar years from now to think that I divorced my ex-husband because of him, or he was just too much. I think I've given him a better life, and I'm a better mother because I'm no longer in that marriage and that relationship, just for me. But I mean, will Cooper ever know, you think? Will you guys ever tell him that you guys split up for a time, or is there's really no need for him to know that, I guess, or any of the kids?
Well, uh, as of right now, cognitively, I don't think he
Yeah,
would ever understand
connect.
that. I mean, I
Hmm.
always presume competence, and he's, a very smart dude, but I don't know if he would ever know that. But I do have a funny, sad story. At my book launch, I had Sawyer come sit with me. It was all our friends and family,
Hmm.
and I read him the letter, which is my favorite part of the book. So I read him the letter that I wrote to him. And Sawyer is just, oh, just all heart,
He
and he
is. He's sweet.
is and he cried and he hugged me. And then the next part I read was, I can't remember what it was, but it was relevant to my divorce. So the next sentence out of my mouth was, and when Jamie and I were divorced. And so Sawyer, he put his arm on my shoulder. He's like, what? And so like I was like so, and people gasped, and I like it didn't even click
Yeah.
until I said it. And I made a joke. I was like, oh, here comes the counseling bills or the therapy bills. And so after I was like, do you want to talk about that? And he's like, no, I'm good. And I mean, Sawyer has a safe space to ask anything.
Yeah.
I work really hard at that. And it's never, he's never really brought it up again.
Hmm.
But no, I've wondered, I don't think we're embarrassed about it either. I think
Oh, you shouldn't be.
no, like we were better parents while we were apart, I think, in that time. Like you just said. Like
Hmm.
we weren't the way I describe it, it wasn't autism that caused us to split up, but autism turns the temperature up.
Hmm.
It's like flame under a gasoline, like it just turns it up. And it just exploded. It was
Hmm.
just too hard.
Well, and maybe he'll have questions later. Sawyer will. He's such an empath. He just, I mean, just
Huge.
being around all of us moms when we were in town, it's like he's just this, he's like all of our little boys.
Uh-huh.
I adore him. So how did you guys, I know you talk about your trip to Vegas, and how Jamie really kind of came clean on his emotions. He finally, something clicked with him, and he finally was feeling everything you had felt years earlier. It just took him a lot of time, which that's fair, I guess. Everyone processes in different ways and different timelines. But
Hmm.
how were you confident that this relationship would work and get better with your communication, with your, even now you've said you need more of an emotional place to land sometimes, and you're working on that. So how
Mhm.
have things changed this time around, kind of fixing things?
Um, oh gosh, so when we came back together, um, and for context, I bought a house when we were divorced. Jamie rented,
Hmm.
but we saw each other twice a day. I was the
Right.
home base. So we still traveled together. We still did family photos and holidays together. It was the weirdest. We never really should have probably got fully went through the divorce
Right.
because it was expensive and a headache. We should have just been separated.
Separated. Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I'm a box checker. I needed to like have control of
Clarity.
this thing.
Hmm.
Yep. And there's a funny story in the book about how after we went through the hearing, I was like, "Do you want to grab lunch?" And he's
Yeah.
like, "No, I'm gonna go fishing." And I was like, "What can I say?" Like, he dropped me off and off he
No.
went.
Yeah.
So funny. So we came back together and we did not, how do I word this? I don't word it not in the negative way. We met each other where we were at on the autism level. It was really beautiful. It was we really settled into our roles. Jamie took on like the Medicaid waiver side. I took on the school side, ABA side. Um, the next real hurdle we had was medications, which Jamie's pretty quiet. He's that black and white guy. And I'll tell you, we put him on one medication, and Cooper was legit climbing the walls, and like Jamie was like, "Done." And that was like, it was weird to see that reaction from him because he was just so
Hmm.
even keel. Um, but we had to be each other's teammates. You This is such an uphill climb that if you're fighting someone, you're not going to make it.
Right.
And so we really kind of went into this more like mechanical, like let's check all the boxes, let's get him everything we need, let's really work towards, and we settled into a good place. We also had two more kids.
Hmm.
We moved, took up a lot of our time. I always say one of the things that really helped me heal with Cooper, and this is going to sound funny, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but was distraction. Once I had four kids, I couldn't focus 100% on autism anymore.
Hmm.
It couldn't consume me. Now that Cooper's 12, we are having things arise again. We're having a lot of challenges with school, and Jamie and I are not meeting each other where we're at. We had a pretty good week-long argument with lots of tears where I want to fight and he's like, let's just do what they say. And I'm
Mm.
like, but it's wrong. And
Yeah.
so this is a really cute story. His mom came over yesterday and she's like, "Why is Cooper only getting half days of school?" And I came right out and said, "Because I don't have a partner to fight the school district with." And she goes, "What?" So she's like, and I was like, and Jamie was in the kitchen and he's like, "Is it worth the fight? This is real life, right?"
Hmm.
And then the other thing that we're really struggling with, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is I just turned 40. Cooper's going to be 13 next month. I am starting to have real debilitating fears about what's going to happen after I die.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's coming from.
It was
It
40. It hit me at 42. I'm almost 50 and it hit me at 40.
I wake up at night, I
Yeah.
have goosebumps. I cry. I'm terrified. It's consuming me,
Hmm.
and Jamie has none of that. None. Maybe he does, but
Yeah.
he's never. And so now to bring it full circle, I have resentment that I feel like I'm worrying alone.
Yeah.
Why isn't he worrying? So
Hmm.
there are no answers. I mean, there's no answers. There's no guidebook. It's so
Hmm.
hard. You can't just find a counselor that's going to talk to you about this stuff. It's like bizarre.
Yeah. I found myself actually having this conversation with Josh the other night about how, again, I feel like all these things are hitting me as foreshadowing that I should have maybe seen before. But I was just talking about early intervention and how everyone is just constantly throwing early intervention, hurry and catch them up. You have a certain age. And that Skylar aged out of those state funded therapy programs that they provide. at 3, and then he aged out of a few other things just because the services only see kids, like a certain AVA center in town only sees kids till they're 12 or something, and they don't take any
All
kids
the
beyond that. And
same thing.
now he's almost 21, and I'm like,
Oh my
oh
God.
my God, we are almost at the precipice of him aging out for good. It is all of these aging out conversations that I, like you, am so overwhelmed and stressed with. Josh is good um, about talking through those things with me. So I'm
Good.
so grateful for that. But he's more the research side too. He's like, all right, we'll get our laptops out tonight and we'll start looking at Minnesota, and we'll look at Colorado and some of the places that we've talked about moving to, and we'll make lists and we'll do all of these things, which I so appreciate.
Yeah.
So I think for us, we didn't get started in that place. I had to tell him,
What you
this is
needed?
what I need.
Yeah.
Because I was the worst at delegating, though. As much as I bitched and complained that he wasn't helping me, I also would always turn down. He's like, well, I can run and get that. I'm like, no, I got it because I know how to do it.
Same, same, same,
And so
same.
I'm like, okay, I can't expect his assistance and help with things and emotionally meet me where I am if I continue to refuse him from helping me. So, how did you find
So true.
a balance with Jamie when you guys kind of got back together and communicated? And did you say to him, like, okay, this has to change, this specific thing, or this isn't going to work? What is it that you had to have from him?
Okay, so do you believe in love languages? Like
Oh,
love
absolutely.
language. Okay, so if anyone listening, like you will be, your mind will be blown by the love languages.
I'm words of affirmation, by the way.
Okay, so Jamie is acts of service.
Yeah, I could
So
see that.
Jamie will put gas in my car. Jamie will all those things. Like um I I am like physical touch. Probably words of affirmation,
Mhm.
same. And so when you have a completely and entirely different love language, it is very hard to get what you need. And but
Right.
once you recognize it, so I was the same as you. I will refer to myself, I was a martyr. I did everything because I was the only one that could do it. But then I would have animosity about him for not sitting on hold, for not faxing forms, for not fighting the insurance company. And
Mhm.
it's like, how do I be angry at him when I won't give him anything to do? So when we came back together, I vividly remember sitting in this tiny kitchen that we had, and I was like, I am giving you the waiver stuff. I am giving you Medicaid. I am giving this to you. And it is hard. It is awful, and you will hate it. And it took so much off my plate. And I will tell you, he came to me like, and this was actually, I think, scratched from my book because my editor said I sounded condescending. But he came to me after and was like, I don't know how you did this and worked
Yeah.
full time. I don't know how you did this. And I'm like, because I spent 10 hours a week at my desk on hold doing this. And he's like,
Mhm.
I don't know how you did it. But it was like, I recognized that I couldn't get the emotional side, but I could give him this tangible,
Mhm.
whatever things to do.
Wow. Well, that's impactful to even know that you're willing and able to give up some of those things and how that feels. It's so nice and reassuring, though, even though it's hard to hear when someone says, how do you do that? How in the
I
hell
know.
do you do all of that? And you just, I don't know. I never have a good answer for that. You just do it. Like,
You just do it.
I mean, I don't challenge that to anything else with any of your other kids. If Sawyer needed something and you had to sit on hold for 10 hours to get him what he needs, you would do it. If it's not autism related, you would still do it. That's just a mom, I think. I just
Here's
think
how I
that's,
describe, and I've been talking, so, and I'm sure you can relate to this, like as our kids get older, like our purposes and I think our roles in advocacy change. So now like my purpose is like I want to help moms. I don't want any mom to ever feel alone. I want to help shatter stigmas so Cooper can be in this world. And oh, my mind just so the the thing that I didn't understand about advocacy when Cooper was 3 and 4 and 5 is we're fighting for basic rights.
mhm,
That's why we do it. And that is the misconception. People think that we want the red carpet rolled out. They truly do. There is someone sitting somewhere that's like, "Oh, you just want the red carpet rolled out for your kids. You want free stuff, you want handouts." I want a school that Cooper can go to. I want a teacher that will like him.
Hmm.
I want a bus that will safely transport him. I want and people I want his right to go to the lunchroom, to be there. And people, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to believe that you're fighting for something for your son to do after 21. He can't sit on your couch for the rest of his life.
No,
He has to do something. You need to be able to do something. And they have no idea. The neurotypical parent, this is my soapbox, I'm sorry, because like I have
no,
a
I
10-year-old,
agree with
I have a
all of it.
10-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Sawyer just goes to school.
Yeah.
Sawyer just goes to sports. Today, my husband and I have a date tonight. We're going to a Minnesota Twins game.
Nice.
Sawyer's going to ride the bus home with another family. He's going to watch his friend's baseball game, and then they're going to this fall festival at school. That will never happen with Cooper.
Hmm.
Cooper has never had anyone pick him up and take him anywhere. None of this will ever happen. I don't, and I just think that, moms like at the age point that we are, and you're ahead of me, we have to start peeling back this layer and showing that we just want basic rights.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, they're so underestimated about what they're able to do, but we are too as parents. It's
Yep.
funny when people say, "Well, just get a sitter for
Oh,
Cooper."
good
Like,
grief.
I know, I'm just like, okay, if one more person tells me to get a babysitter for Skylar, who is almost 21 years old, I'm going to lose it. He's not a baby. He doesn't need a babysitter. What he needs is a friend. I would love for him to have a peer, a male peer, come pick him up and take him walking on the walking bridge like we do with him, or he could do the same things we do with them, just
It's my
somebody
dream.
else. I
It's
know.
my
That's all
dream.
I want.
Do you know how much Cooper would love and adore if someone picked him up and took him to Starbucks drive-through to get a cake pop? He would think it was, and I say this on lives, and I always think that like someone in my family life's gonna like call me up and be like, "Can, no." But back to the babysitter thing, just to kind of shine light on how hard it is. We don't have any help right now.
Hmm.
And Jamie's parents are I have wonderful in-laws. They live close by, but they're in their mid 70s. And Jamie's dad can manage Cooper if something happens, but his mom can't. She's
Hmm.
5 feet tall, she's very frail. And she had a couple years ago, he got frustrated, dropped to the ground, and she claims it was not his fault. He swiped her legs and she fell. So she's scared. So like
Yeah.
tonight, it's things that you wouldn't even believe. So like for example, we have to have both grandma and grandpa come, and then someone's gonna have to go pick up Sawyer. Well, it has to be grandma. Grandma doesn't want to drive at night, but grandpa can't go because he can't leave Cooper home alone. I mean, you wouldn't even believe the complications in it just to do what everyone else takes for granted.
I think those are the things too that, in relationships that are challenging and can lead to the demise of a family and a marriage, because if you already have some of the struggles with communication about whose role and who's going to do what to support the child with special needs, then it's also very easy for people to say, besides get a babysitter, like, you guys need to schedule a date night, like a weekly date night or whatever. My first thought goes to the single parents, because I was single for quite a long time raising these two kids.
Yep.
That's not easy either, to
No.
try to get out of here. But then, even if Josh and I, on the rare occurrence when Kendall was home, and as long as he was asleep, she's like, I'll watch the house with him in it, but like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go change his pull up, which I would never have her do anyway. But the very few occasions that we've ever been able to get out of here, we talk about Skylar almost the entire time, and I feel guilty and I worry, and we just have a quick dinner and then we head home. We're just not gone for long. And I'm envisioning what our marriage is going to look like later if we don't have a placement for Skylar when he's an adult. Are we ever going to have a relationship that's just us again, like empty nesters experience? I will never know what an empty nester life looks like unless I can find a loving, caring place for Skylar to live outside of our home.
Well,
So,
and you just touched on something, multiple things, but one thing that's really powerful is I call it the emotional weight of having a child with a disability. You will never set that down. And so where no matter and the visual I usually give is I usually say that sentence when I'm presenting, to a school district, and I'll say, I have my phone up here right now because if Cooper's school calls, I have to step away and take this phone call. And I'm being a little dramatic with that, but like we are never not worrying.
mhm.
It's entirely different. I don't think about Sawyer and Harbor and Winnie in that way. But with Cooper, I never know what Could be. Yeah, so it's like it's this emotional weight, and I think that I often wonder the older I'm getting, what is this doing to my body? Do you ever think
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, and I mean that to your point, like
And people don't like
I
to hear
work
that
out in the
sitting
morning now,
reclining.
like at
Yeah.
5:30, or like as soon as I wake up, or at the minute I drop him off at his ABA center, I hurry and get it done because I'm anticipating a phone call like he's had too many BMs today with his Crohn's flare up. He's, aggressive. You guys need to come get him or whatever. And if I put things off, whatever it is I needed to do that day, inevitably they always call me to come and get him early. And I think that's my biggest fear is he's at this program for one more year and he's 8 to 4 there. And that 8 to 4 is when I work and when I get things done. And what am I going to do when there's no 8 to 4? I'm on the clock. I never can ever clock out and put in my time notice. Like I'm done with this
I feel like
job.
I mean, this is just so I don't have a lot of people to talk to about this, and you totally live it because so there's no summer programs for a child like Cooper. I'm sure just like your son. There's no summer programs. People are always like, "Oh, what about that one autism camp?" Is too severe. He's unable to
Hmm.
go. I wouldn't trust him even if I had a PCA, I wouldn't trust, and I don't want to go to summer camp for a week. Whatever the circumstances may be. There's lots of different ones. I work full time, So, from May whatever, June 1, whatever, he's home every single day. Let that sink in. And what's hard about it is, and where I get frustrated is I can't even go for a walk. I have this new puppy. It's beautiful in the summer. Cooper can maybe go, we're working on a block or two at a time, but it is like molasses and it's constant encouragement and motivation. It's exhausting and I'll do it. I'm doing it, but it's not enjoyable yet. So it's like, that scares me to death after 21 or whatever the age is.
Hmm.
Will he be here for the rest of his life every second? And I don't think people understand that. And they don't want to hear it. They see it as complaining. They see it as
Hmm.
whining. And it's like, no, it's not. Like Sawyer's gonna leave. Sawyer's gonna go. He's gonna go live his life, which is heartbreaking in itself. But like that's the natural progression. It's not natural for your child to live with you forever, even though I want him to be safe.
Hmm. Well, and
So can
parents talk about that all the time. Like, I don't mean it to be mean, but I can't wait till my kids go to college, like when they're in that 15, 16 age, or they move out on their own so we can get our life back and travel and do all these things. And people kind of semi complain about being empty nesters. That makes them sad that their kids have grown and the time goes so fast and all of that. I'm like, I wouldn't know. I mean, I do have that experience with Kendall, and I really greatly appreciate having two completely different kids so I can experience all the quote unquote traditional things with her. But I'll never probably utter the words in my life like, man, time goes so fast and your kids are gone before you know it. He's never gone. And
so
so
I
I mean, Josh and I are just trying to figure out like, okay, I mean, that's the honest truth. Our marriage now revolves around where Skylar is going to have the best chance at an adult life, and we're going to move there. He's going to switch jobs. I may switch jobs or quit my job because if I have to be the caregiver. And those are marital conversations that we're in right now that people don't have to plan for when they don't live this life. They can just sell their house and buy a house in Hawaii and like
Mhm.
just jet around the country. But so our lives until we die will revolve around Skylar. I know that sounds horrible and morbid, but it
No, it
is.
just is. It just
Yeah.
is.
So,
And so we're starting to have conversations too. And Jamie and I have always, and I don't know if this will happen, but we've always agreed really easily that Cooper would live with us forever. Now that Cooper's getting older, that was when he was, 3, 4,
mhm,
5. He'll be with us forever. I'll tell you, parents of younger kids, the conversation starts to evolve because I Lori and I have a friend Gina whose son Carter is in a group home setting at 18. He has severe nonverbal autism and he is so happy. It's like it's changed my whole perception, my
he
whole
changed mine too.
yeah, and that's a whole nother
Yeah.
conversation. But um there may come a time where Cooper doesn't want to live with us. We're going to be keeping him safe and making sure that he's, all his needs are met. But Jamie and I've had these conversations because like he wants to have a place in Arizona. Well, what if Cooper can't fly by then? What if he still can't go to a restaurant? Jamie's like, I want to golf and play sports. That's what his dad does. Well, I can't be stuck. I'm saying it with
No, and
Cooper.
that's the words I use too.
And it's like I don't and would Cooper want to be stuck with me? We can look at it the other way too. Like I'm gonna be what in my 70s? Is he gonna want to sit with boring old mom? I can't be taking him to every train station. So like these things are happening in real time and I feel like you have to just start to feel the feelings and think about the different scenarios and grieve and hope and I don't it's it's harder. I thought the hardest part was the diagnosis, the early years. I think it's this stuff.
Yeah, it is the stages of grief that you've
It
mentioned
is.
recently. And just like now that Cooper is about to be a teenager and you're going to go through those same phases of, and Jamie should too, I would imagine, like when all of Cooper's peers are getting driver's licenses. And then the thing that hit me, it wasn't so much all of Skylar's old playmates that were getting those things or hitting those milestones, rites of passage, I guess. It was when Kendall did it because
Okay.
she's my baby. And when Sawyer gets his license, you're going to be so excited and nervous and all the things for Sawyer. That's when it hit me like, this should be the second time I'm at the license branch. This should be the second time that I'm going to graduation. This is the
Yes.
second time that I'm looking through college, entrance applications and all of these things. And I'm doing all of these with my baby that I should have already done and
Who's
given her
leapfrog
advice.
Skylar.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, I mean, handling all those firsts and my emotions around those with my marriage and not I'm not always the best communicator, so I internalize a lot of that stuff and then I'm sad and then I blow up at Josh about the dishwasher being loaded incorrectly because there is a correct way to load the
Yeah.
dishwasher. And it's like it's the stupidest thing. And
It
I
is.
and I feel bad because he is my rock and support system. But I mean, do you kind of snap on Jamie about like random things that
So um we had the hardest August for all the reasons. Some that I won't go into, but all we just had a really
Mhm.
hard month of marriage. We were not communicating, we were not kind to each other, we were mean to each other. We were arguing, we were fighting, which is so hard when you have a 10-year-old who now understands and
Mhm.
hears. Oh my gosh, it is so hard to have problems in your marriage when you have kids that internalize it.
Mhm.
So, trying to navigate all this, and it all came to a head. This is in real time 2 weeks ago. We came together at 9 a.m. and sat on the couch. All the kids were at school and daycare, and we talked it out. And it was the first time in years, and he referenced how hard autism is. And then he said something he's never said before. He said, and it's going to be hard forever. And that was such a like a breakthrough for him. I mean, it was just, and maybe that's why he was being so crabby for this whole month, like you had just said. I think he was snapping on me. But it's like, the way I describe it is like, 4 kids is insane. Sawyer's in 3 sports. We have jobs. Sawyer's in 2 sports. Cooper's in it's never ending. And then you have autism.
Mhm.
So, um, we, yeah, I don't know.
It's just a
We
whole
need to,
nother layer.
we need to like, and do you guys do therapy? Like, we need to talk to someone, but we've never really done it because we've never found anyone that understands our life.
I had a I've had the same therapist for a long time that I started seeing when I was going through my divorce. And Josh came with me once to talk to her. It was new into our marriage and just to help better understand me because again, going from a single mom who handled everything, I was not good at delegating and I'm the one who said, "Why don't you come with me to a therapy session so maybe she can better explain to you why I'm the way that I am and then she can
Yes.
tell me to let go of all the control and to like give you a little bit more." Um but I've just learned that one of the things I was doing, and maybe he was too, that I finally said to him in one of our conversations is that I was projecting so much on him. And I didn't mean to. He would say something, and I'm like, oh, well, I took offense to it, I guess. If it was Skylar related, especially. Um, it's not at all what he meant, and it wasn't what he said. It was just I projected my own I guess the crap that I've heard from other people about our life and about Skylar and whatever, I just snap on him. And I just had to learn to be a better communicator
Mhm.
because he's not a mind reader. So I think, you know, we
I'll
don't
tell
go
you
to
one of the
therapy
fights
now,
that
but
we had. I think this will just, I don't know if this will, it's very much autism related. So, I want Cooper to be in things, in activities. I think that if Sawyer is doing hockey, football, baseball, play dates, birthday parties, I want Cooper to have things of his own too. And there's other parts of that. And I want, and so for him, that looks like Miracle League. He does therapeutic
yeah.
horseback riding, and then
Hmm.
year round, typically once a week, he does a Miracle League, whether it's baseball, right now it's basketball. Is Cooper athletic and loves sports? No, but he loves, shh, sit over here. He loves the kids, he loves the chaos. We love the other families. We love, nope, sorry.
No, it's okay. Saw the
Okay.
little blonde head.
So we love we just finished baseball, which was life changing because
Yeah,
we
that
met
was
so
awesome.
many families. It's all the moms that are in my Minnesota group. It's changed our life. So next was basketball. So I said to Jamie, I have this animosity. Stop, please. Sit down. I'm gonna go with dad. I have this animosity because I'm the only one that can take him and motivate him, and I'm his person, right?
Mm,
Underlying animosity. Jamie can be there, but I still have to be the doer. And I want just once want to sit on the bleachers and watch, right? This is my underlying own stuff. And so I said, I was like, oh, I don't want to go to basketball tonight. I don't have the energy. And Jamie's like, just quit. Cooper doesn't care. Just quit. You're doing it for you. Oh, did I?
oh, I would have lost it on him. Sorry.
Oh, you wouldn't even believe the fight that we had. And I was like, he
Mm,
deserves to be there. He likes to be there. I like to be there, And sometimes the fight's not about the fight.
right.
Yep.
Yikes.
I know it's hard.
You know what's interesting though is as much as you say you're his person, and I mean, I've seen everything with your life online, and I have no doubt that you are his person. Josh is Skylar's person. And
Okay.
I was, and then I don't know if it's because he got older. Other parents try to make me feel better when I posted about this, and I was really upset because I just don't feel like Skylar appreciates me or understands me in my role, and that I just do everything and I work for him is how I feel our relationship is. And another parent said to me that because Josh is a man and like teaches him to like shaves his face and does a lot of those things, he's become his person because Skylar's trying to learn from Josh of what being a man is like, and I can't fill that void for him. So maybe, Jamie will shift in his relationship with Cooper and take a little bit of it off of you when Cooper finally kind of realizes that he wants to emulate his dad a little bit, and that he's a guy's guy. And maybe even Sawyer can play a part in that just to give you a little bit of a break. So, you
You know
know,
what's beautiful about that is I love that and adore that. So, one of the biggest challenges in our autism parenting life is that typically Cooper won't separate from me. So, what that looks like is like, let's say we're at a doctor's appointment. It's me, Jamie, and Cooper, and it's an important appointment, and I need to talk to the doctor. Cooper won't separate from me to talk. Like, so say they do the exam, then he could easily go to the car, go to the waiting room. He won't separate, and instead of letting me talk, he will kick the trash can and make it so I can't talk.
distract you. Yeah.
Yep, the same thing happens at, Christmas, or it happened last night at this ice cream social. He needs me 100%, but we've made progress, right? So on Tuesday night, Sawyer had a football game, and I brought him, and I got to just stand on the sidelines and talk to the parents. And then who do I see come walking up? Jamie and Cooper. They had basketball, and they came to the football game. And Cooper sat down, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, now I have to leave. I'm like, because he won't separate from me. And yeah. And we set the timer for 10 minutes, and he watched the football game. And then he looked at when it went off, turned around, and he went to Jamie. He went, huh, and they got up and they left. And I have never had that happen in his 12 years. And I got to stay. And I don't know, it was this, Jamie didn't even notice it. It was this subtle shift. I was like, oh, maybe something's changing.
Maybe
It
you
was
should do
so
that with
beautiful.
walks. We went through that with Skylar. Like he dropped, like we could barely get a house distance away, and he would drop to the ground. And it
Same.
was when I was with him usually. And so Josh, he's much more patient and calmer than me, admittedly. So if things are tense, he'll go, come on, Skylar, we're gonna go for a walk. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? Because he's gonna hit you, he's gonna drop, like it's gonna be a nightmare. And he's like, we got it. And he always says we got it, and he leaves. And the two of them, and now, I mean, Skylar walks our entire neighborhood, which is like a mile. And I mean, he holds Josh's, he won't hold my hand, but he holds Josh's hand the entire walk. And I'm like, part of me is like, that's so cute. Part of me is like, you jerks. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
about me? I'm the one who's been wiping your butt for 20 years. You know, it's like, I
Yes.
can I
I
have
bet it'll
some
come
sort of,
around again. I bet. I have a question though. So, um, during COVID in our old neighborhood, we started walking. And for a year we walked every day, and I'll tell you, we went a block, we went half a block, we drop, roll, kick, run up the driveway. I mean, it was just, I joke that we walked backwards.
mhm,
It was just a joke. But we did it because we during COVID we had time. We just walked and we made a lot of progress. And everyone knew us. So like it was a very 1950s neighborhood.
mhm.
It was lots of kids. They knew Cooper. Now that we're in this new neighborhood, it's definitely an older neighborhood, and we know people, but they don't people keep to themselves. Did you ever feel like you were like on display when he would like sit down and or do you have that like
Um,
camaraderie there?
I don't think so. We also push him in his stroller a lot in the neighborhood. Like at the end of the day, when we pick him up from his center, he's tired, and we can just tell he doesn't have the energy to walk. So we'll go, let's go for a stroll in the neighborhood. And I walk the dog, and Josh pushes his stroller or
Oh,
whatever.
nice. That's
So
nice.
everybody sees us, everybody knows. So I think it's just because we've done it so long and we've lived in this neighborhood so long that it's a normal thing to see us out now. But people did stop and comment when they first saw him walking, and they're like, oh, he's not in the stroller. Like, I wonder if some people think he can't walk because he was always in
Yep.
the stroller before. But they're like, oh, it's so nice to see you guys. They'll roll down their window and they're like, hey, out for a morning stroll, because we usually go really early in the morning because he's up. So to kill
Yeah.
some time. But yeah, I just again, I'm learning to manage my relationship with Josh is to let go and let him do those things. Even though it kind of pains my heart sometimes that Skylar doesn't choose me, I'm glad he's choosing him. I'm glad he's, that they have that thing. And I'm just trying to figure out what my thing will be with Skylar so that I don't resent Josh for being such a great dad, you know?
You know
It's like,
what's funny? Because Jamie and Sawyer have sports, the older
mhm,
Sawyer gets, the more he's choosing Jamie. And there will be moments where it crushes me. Like it
mhm.
crushes me. And Sawyer's even made comments over the years like, well, Cooper needs you more. Or you just stay with Cooper, Mom. I'll go with Dad. Yeah, it's hard.
Oh,
And
it
we've even
is. And
we've
you
even
always
had
get the
com
babies, right?
yeah. And we've even had comments that are like, I miss things, but that's a four kid thing too. That's
Yeah.
not necessarily just an autism thing. I'll miss things, and he'll say things like, "Well, you weren't at my game," and it's like, oh,
Oh.
because he has so much support, and I go as much as I can, but we're a bigger family.
Hmm.
It's different.
Yeah. And even if you are there, sometimes you're probably chasing the other two and you're half paying attention, but
Yep.
yeah. Ugh. Well, I always hate asking the word advice for people, but just seeing what things were like, and everybody changes with age, and Cooper's changed, you guys have changed, but have there been things that you now, knowing what you've known all these 12 years with him, that you can set aside and they don't mean as much to you? Like if you had to get something out of Jamie or out of your marriage, and there's something you could just let go that you thought you needed, but it's not that important, would there be anything like that that you would suggest to people to just let it go, like something that you might be harboring that's causing marital problems, that's just not that important in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I don't know if this is the lesson that I've learned recently is that Jamie and I will often need a break, and we won't ask for it.
Yeah, that's a good
And
one.
that's when things get really bad. I've noticed is that and so Jamie gets very overwhelmed. I don't get overwhelmed as much, but he gets very overwhelmed. And if if he was would if he was able to ask for the break and get it, I think it would really help us. So I think our biggest issue is communication,
Hmm.
and then being kind to each other. I know that sounds so simple, but like we can get really snippy with each other. We can
Hmm.
get really take jabs. And it's like, we're on the same team. I mean, we really are. We're the only two that are in the trenches fighting for this boy and this
Hmm.
family. So, um, we are a work in progress. I will say that.
Hmm. I think everybody is. I mean, nobody has the magic potion to make this all work, but I mean, it's true. We're tired. So we're snappier than probably normal people are because we're exhausted. But yeah,
Well, and
you're
the other
right.
component to that that I've touched on recently in my lives is that I think that parents like us are so used to fighting for everything that that
True.
is the go-to. I just like stumbled upon that mentally recently. It's like we don't really know how to not fight. Like from like with the pharmacist at Target to the bus driver, this whatever it may be, like we're so used to like it being hard that if
Hmm.
it's easy, it's almost foreign.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's such a good point. We're always on the defensive. So
Yes.
it's like we're looking for things to nitpick about. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, you know, just recently, finally, Josh and I said to each other, like, listen, I'm gonna give you this certain look. If Skylar's in the room, I don't want to like make a big scene in front of him. But I'm like Jamie, I'm overwhelmed very easily, and he is not. And
Yes.
I can just tell by Josh's mannerisms and stuff that he's been hit one too many times on this Saturday. And he's like, I'm gonna lose it. And I give him a look too. And I'm like, I am going to yell at Skylar, and it's not gonna be pretty if I don't walk away. And so he'll either grab him and say, hey, let's go for a stroll, or he'll say, why don't you run to Target and pick up whatever you need? He like, I almost feel like I need him to give me the
That's
hall
what I
pass. Like,
that's basically what I was just saying.
yeah,
Yes.
just go.
Have you seen that? It's pretty powerful, that Brene Brown clip about her and her husband have this deal where, I mean, as cheesy as it is, where she's like, I only have 70% to give today, so I need you to pick up the slack.
Mm.
It's like the marriage of like 100%. It's really, you should Google it. It's really quite powerful. It helped me in my thinking.
Does she just do that daily? Just say, oh, I'm at 80 today. I'm at
Like I
40
think,
today.
yeah, but it's like it's just so true. Like I just sometimes don't have all because our lives take 100%. Let's not sugarcoat it.
More
Like
than that.
it's
We
yeah,
don't have
it's
any
like
more.
parenting on crack. Like we have to like really be a lot at all times. And sometimes I just don't have it.
Yeah. I mean, I think like what you said, a great way to sum up really is communication is key. And I think, like you said, about always needing to fight for things for our kids, that's a huge component of it too. But I feel like I'm working so hard to try to communicate and understand Skylar that I'm negating trying to communicate and understand Josh and his needs
Oh, yes, yes,
with
yes.
my own. I'm always deciphering Skylar, like this means this and this means that. And I'm missing vital clues with Josh's mannerisms, like, oh, I'm like neglecting this part of my marriage. And I just want to be everything to everyone. And it's just not possible. I think
Nope.
we just need to let ourselves off the hook about being everybody's person because we just
Oh, yes,
can't. There's
yes.
nothing left for
Mhm.
us. Oh gosh. Well, thanks for your honesty and your openness and putting it all in a book.
Yes. I'm hoping to, is your second book done?
It's done. It's in the editing phase now. So
Oh, I
yeah,
can't wait. Yeah, I'm hoping I have a couple proposals in the works, so we'll see
nice.
what comes from it. Yeah, I can't, but also it gives me really bad anxiety because last time I wrote a book it was during COVID and like I just don't know if it's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a
But
lot,
I'm
but
excited. Do you have a title yet or is it
I
secret?
don't, no, I don't have one yet. I'm still kind of working on it. It's about motherhood and, you know, just
Oh, I can't wait.
all stages of that. So,
Yeah.
well, thanks so much, Kate. Take care. And
Yes, thank
I'll be
you.
talking to you soon, I'm sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.